We have talked about what you wash with. We've talked about what you rub on your skin. We've talked about what you breathe in. We've talked about what you store your food in. Today, we're going to talk about what you clean with because somewhere along the way, we were taught that a stronger chemical smell means healthier and cleaner. But many common cleaning products contain compounds that can interfere with thyroid signaling, reproductive hormones, lung health, and even your nervous system. In this episode, we are unpacking what's actually in household cleaners and how they affect women's bodies and what realistic changes you can make that matter the most. Let's go. Welcome to If Mama Ain't Healthy, Ain't Nobody Healthy. I'm your host, Lori Morris, a Christian midwife, mama of 3, and wellness coach who believes your body isn't broken, it's beautifully designed by God. Here we talk about how to restore your energy, balance your hormones, and find peace and true wellness in your body again, no matter what stage of motherhood you're in. Whether you're pregnant, postpartum, in the messy middle of mom life, or you're trying to conceive. And we do it all through biblical truth and practical, holistic living. Because you're not meant to just survive motherhood, you're meant to thrive in it. Let's dive in. So for a long time in this spot at the very beginning of my podcast, I would read a review from Apple Podcasts from one of you wonderful listeners who took the time to go leave me a review. But it has been 4 months since somebody took the time to do that. And I know you got a lot to do, and I know you probably think it really doesn't matter, but can I just say to you that it does? It helps me so much to find other women just like you who are looking for this kind of content when you take the time to just leave a quick review. So if you haven't already, please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a quick 5-star written review. Just tell me what you think about the show, maybe which episodes you like the best, and that will help me so much. If you don't have an Apple product, that's fine too. You can also help me by just going to YouTube, subscribing to my channel, maybe commenting on a video or sharing a video with your friends. All of these things help me find other women like you who are looking for content like what I provide. So I want to let you know that I'm going to talk about a lot of things in today's episode, and you're probably going to want to write a lot of them down. That's great if you want to do that, but I also want you to know I have a free low tox cleaning starter guide that's going to be available to you in the show notes. So go grab that. It's going to be linked down in the show notes, or you can go to morriswellnessservices.com/blog/185, and it will be linked there for you to download and have available when you need it. All right, so for today's content, we are getting into a whole new aspect of things that we're using every day in our lives that are potentially making us sick. And this week, we are going to talk about cleaning products. We have been taught through direct messaging and then also through some subliminal messaging and just what's available out there that clean means it smells a certain way and that it means sterile. It's on all of the products. It says kills 99.9% of germs. Walk down the cleaning aisle and you're going to be knocked over by chemical smells. These are the things we've been taught to associate with cleanliness. The stronger the smell, the safer we feel somehow, as if the smell is what's making it clean. But clean and chemically aggressive are not the same thing. Many disinfectants and many cleaners contain endocrine disrupting or hormone interfering compounds. And those compounds are the things you're smelling and the things that are killing this 99.9% of germs, which in some isolated cases that we're going to talk about can be a good thing. But when applied generally day to day, they're actually causing harm. So what are some of these compounds that are present in these cleaners? The first we'll talk about is called quaternary ammonium compounds. Some might call them quats. These are found in disinfectant wipes, antibacterial sprays, sanitizing cleaners, and fabric sanitizers. They work by disrupting microbial cell membranes. All right, to explain this, I'm going to have to take you back to science class. I hope this is not some awful memory, but I think you probably learned about this, whether you remember it or not. You remember that cells have membranes around the outside that kind of hold everything inside of the cell. That's true for microbes as well. If you have been curious about Verity Village when you've heard me talking about it here on the podcast and you've been wondering what's that all about, I have got some great news for you today, because now you can come try Verity Village for 2 days for just $2. It's like almost no commitment, right? Verity Village, Verity, by the way, means truth. Verity Village is a private community for Christian women just like you who want clarity, they want support, they want wisdom without the noise of social media or the pressure to already have it all figured out. Come read the conversations, watch the replays, and just see if this is the kind of place that you've been looking for. Just go to https://www.morriswellnessservices.com/Verity Village. That's VERITY Village, or just go down to the show notes and click the link. These chemicals target that cell membrane and cause it to break down. And when that breaks down, the internal portions of these microbial cells dies. That's a good thing in a very targeted, specific situation. When it becomes a bad thing is when it is also impacting our living cells that we want to keep healthy. We don't want them to be impacted. And when we are trying to sanitize every surface every day, we are getting a constant exposure to these quaternary ammonium compounds that are breaking down the cell membranes of the good bacteria on our bodies and of cells in other places. Constant exposure to these compounds can cause or have been associated with things like asthma. They've been linked to reproductive toxicity in animal studies. They have potential endocrine disrupting activity, and of course, they're going to alter the human microbiome. The human microbiome is the bacteria present in human bodies that's supposed to be there. We are supposed to have good bacteria present. That's what God, or how God designed us. The good bacteria tend to keep the bad bacteria in check. However, the good bacteria are very vulnerable to these same compounds because they also have cell membranes. And so when they are exposed to these compounds, it causes the good bacteria to die as well, then leaving a door open for the bad bacteria to take over, or for other things to develop that tend to develop when the microbiome is altered. Healthcare workers are especially susceptible to this because they are constantly disinfecting, both when they're taking care of patients and coming in and out of their rooms, and when they are cleaning things up after one patient goes home and the next one's coming in, which can be a good thing, obviously. We don't want to pass disease from one patient to another. However, if they are not properly protecting their bodies, they're going to have a cumulative exposure that is much higher than a lot of people who aren't necessarily sanitizing every single thing every single day. Just always remember that what kills microbes also interacts with living tissue. So if you want your living tissue to be healthy, you don't need to be exposing it to compounds designed to kill cells. All right, so we need to find ways to protect ourselves from these things, and we're going to talk about that as we move on. Another compound or another thing that's in these cleaners that's impacting us is chlorine and bleach. These are found, of course, in bathroom cleaners. You know that smell. You know it's in just about every bathroom cleaner, that bleach smell. It's also in toilet cleaners and in mold sprays because it is particularly effective for these things. But what happens is when you use them, when you use chlorine and bleach, volatile gases are released that then you're breathing in. It irritates your respiratory tissue, and that increases inflammatory signaling. So the tissue inside of your lungs gets irritated and it starts to get inflamed, setting off the cascade of events in your body to respond to the inflammation from your immune system, which again is good when there's actually something to attack, but to get rid of and to make you well. But in this case, this is just irritation from something that is going to then lead to a low level of inflammation that is going to keep your immune system activated and lead to it not actually working properly when you do need it. Also, when you mix things together, mix cleaners together improperly, you can form dangerous gases that are then breathed in, and that makes this process even more exacerbated, even worse. Chronic exposure can lead to, again, lung irritation, immune dysregulation, because if you're constantly inflamed, your immune system cannot work the way that it was designed to work because it's kind of always having to work. So it doesn't have that in the moment acute response that you're wanting. And it can lead to thyroid stress via inflammation pathways. Again, that inflammation has downstream impacts all over your body, including on your thyroid. Another thing to be concerned about, we've talked about in pretty much every episode to some degree in this series, is synthetic fragrances. I've talked about that at length. I believe it was last week or week before, I think, about fragrances and the impacts that they have. And these fragrances are also present in these cleaners. Even green, quote, green cleaners often contain these. So even the ones that say they're supposed to be better for you, they still have these fragrances. So you have to be looking for things like fragrance blends and synthetic musks, because these things impact estrogen. They're estrogen mimickers, meaning they kind of act like estrogen in your body, causing then estrogen not to be able to do its job properly. They cause nervous system stimulation, and they can cause headaches and migraines. How many of us have not experienced these headaches from just being exposed to these scents and these fragrances everywhere? Remember, things like lemon scent does not equal lemon juice. It's not the same thing. Just because it smells like lemon doesn't mean it actually is lemon. So often these things are synthetic. So you want to look for cleaners that don't have that word fragrance, again, which is a place that they can legally hide hundreds of chemicals and not tell you what they are. The last thing from cleaners we're going to look at are volatile organic compounds, or VOCs. The cleaning sprays release these airborne chemicals into the air as you're spraying them. That's basically what aerosolizes them. And it gets into the air. You breathe them in through inhalation. It gets into your lungs. And that gives rapid bloodstream access. So anything you breathe in goes straight into your lungs, into your alveoli, which are right next to your capillaries, which pick up the things across those membranes and then take them to your whole body. So very quickly, your whole body is exposed to these VOCs. Possible effects of this are airway inflammation, hormone receptor interference, meaning the receptors where these hormones do their job are being interfered with, causing the hormones not to be able to do their job, and oxidative stress. How do these chemicals that we've talked about, how do they get into your body? Well, as I just mentioned, inhalation is the first way. Aerosolized droplets are very, very tiny. You breathe them in and they get straight into your bloodstream, as I just described. Steam from hot showers with the cleaner still there, again, causes that aerosolization or the steaming of those chemicals that then are warmer and they are much more active and able to get into your airways. And poor ventilation. If you don't have a fan going, if you don't have windows open and you're just sitting in there breathing these high levels of chemicals, it's going to increase how much you are inhaling. Again, it enters your bloodstream very quickly, and it bypasses some detox barriers because of the way that you're getting it into your body. Another way is through another way that these chemicals get into your body is through skin contact. Basically, touching the cleaners, obviously. So if you are cleaning with bare hands, you are getting those chemicals directly into your skin or onto your skin, then into your bloodstream. Residue can live on surfaces long after you're done cleaning. It can still be there, and then you come through and you touch the surfaces, and then you absorb it the same way. And contact through your freshly cleaned floors. Think about what you're cleaning your floors with and your feet and how they're bare on your floors and absorbing the things that you've cleaned your floors with. This is especially important if you have crawling babies and also pregnant women, again, because you are being exposed to these chemicals, which are then going into the placenta and maybe crossing the placenta to your baby. Y'all, I know how hard it is to know if something being sold to you online is worth anything these days, because there is so much counterfeit junk floating around. And beyond that, it seems like everybody has a course to sell you. So I want to help you make an informed decision about your childbirth education the same way I want you to make informed decisions about everything in your maternity care. That's why, for a limited time, I'm giving you free access to the first module of my Christian childbirth course. You can see it for yourself for free for a whole week for absolutely no charge. And you don't even need to enter in a credit card number. The first module is going to give you a look at the underpinnings of the whole course, which is God, the creator of everything, including the creator of pregnancy and the birth process. He made it. So we should look to Him for our guidance. And the first module lays the foundation for that. If you're not familiar with me, I'm Lori Morris, and I'm a certified nurse midwife. I used to be all medical, and I worked in the medicalized maternity care system. But with time, I saw the truth, and I became a midwife who attends home births and who had all her babies outside of that system. That gives me a unique perspective because I've been on both sides. I can help you understand what happens on the medical side while fully preparing you for the natural side, including how to navigate decisions and interventions while also wrapping you in Scripture to remind you of God's truth, that you are made to do this no matter what the world says. There is no other course out there like this one, and I want you to see it for yourself. Go to go.yourbirthgodsway.com/course free trial and get signed up today. Again, that's go.yourbirthgodsway.com/course free trial. And a final way that you can be exposed is through chronic low-level exposure. Even if you only clean weekly, residue can remain on surfaces, as I mentioned. Air circulation redistributes these smells and these compounds continually through your house if you don't have the air being vented out to the outside and bringing fresh air in. And then there are repeated micro exposures that just accumulate over time, week after week, month after month. So let's tie this into hormones. All right. I want you to understand how these things are impacting the physiology of your body, how God made your body to work. Okay. Let's look at how this whole process works. Cleaning chemicals can activate stress pathways, partially because of the inflammation we talked about before, also through other pathways like your limbic system and things like that. So when you're exposed to these chemicals in these cleaners, your stress pathways activate. That leads to increased cortisol levels, which leads to an increased inflammatory load, which leads to interference in thyroid signaling, which can alter your microbiome balance, contributing to things like asthma and immune dysregulation. Oftentimes, we have been taught to think of systems as all being separated, like they don't all communicate. Like if you have a respiratory issue, it's just a respiratory issue. Or if you have a nervous system issue, it's just a nervous system issue. It doesn't work that way. All of these things are working together. So hormone balance is not isolated from immune health or from nervous system signaling. It all is connected. And so you have to appreciate that just this one exposure that doesn't seem like that big of a deal because of course you got to clean, right? Yet is it having downstream consequences that are leading to health problems that you may not have ever associated with just cleaning your bathroom or your kitchen? Women are particularly vulnerable to this because we tend to do more of the household cleaning on average. We have higher autoimmune rates. Now, that's one of those, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Do we have the higher autoimmune rates because of these increased exposures, or the increased exposures just have more impact because of the autoimmune rates? It's hard to tell. We have more thyroid dysfunction, again, chicken or egg, which came first. And we experience those hormone cycling shifts, which impact how our bodies are responding to our exposures throughout the month, each month. Postpartum women also are especially at risk because think about this: when you have your brand new baby, you're so worried about your baby getting sick, either because you are truly worried about it or because they make you worry about it, right? They make you think that all the bad things are going to happen if you don't disinfect every single surface that your baby comes in contact with. So you're having an increased exposure to these disinfecting chemicals. Keep that in mind because you're already hormonally vulnerable because of the time of life that you're in. So now with these increased exposures to these toxic chemicals, you are even more vulnerable. So what actually needs disinfecting? we're told that everything does, basically. Like, all germs are bad. We must kill them all now and keep them all dead and constantly keep things sterile. That's kind of the message that cleaning companies have put out there. But in reality, that's not true. Most surfaces only need soap and water. Most surfaces do not need to be sterilized. Mechanical removal of dirty stuff, like if you get sticky or dirty or whatever, these things can be, when I say mechanical removal, I mean like elbow grease. I mean like you use a sponge and you use soap and water and you just scrub it and get rid of it. And that's good enough for most things. You want to reserve disinfecting for when there's been raw meat contamination. Obviously, we want to disinfect then because we don't want to get any meat, any illness from being in contact with the raw meat. If there's illness in your home and you're trying to keep it from spreading from kid to kid or from kid to you, then obviously at that time you might want to be a little bit more attentive. And then in other specific high risk scenarios, kind of like what we talked about earlier in hospitals and that kind of thing, you just want to do targeted use. You don't want to have daily saturation of these things. You don't want to be exposed to these chemicals much at all, almost never. So what are some practical swaps that you can do? Well, first, as we've said for, again, nearly every episode of this series, look for fragrance-free options. Fragrance-free cleaners do exist, or cleaners that have been scented with good quality essential oils that are considered safe. Okay, those options are out there. I use one from Young Living. I will link it in the show notes so that you can see what I use in case that's something that you want to try, but there are lots of different options available. Always just use soap and water first and be sure that that soap isn't also an offender, because most of them are. Most of them have lots of these same chemicals that we've been talking about. So be sure, kind of like with the shampoo that we talked about, be sure that the soap that you're choosing to use in your kitchens and in your bathrooms is not just as big of an offender as all these other things that we've talked about. Microfiber cloths like Norwex that I've mentioned in other episodes are great alternatives. I'll link those again. Diluted vinegar can be a good option for some surfaces, so that's always a choice that you can use to clean with. Hydrogen peroxide can be used for targeted disinfecting, and keep your windows open when you are cleaning. Also, maybe invest in some good quality gloves that will protect your skin from the exposure of these chemicals. Some of the gloves aren't the greatest either, so be careful which one of those you choose. It feels like the attacks are everywhere. It's really hard to just get to be able to do things you need to do in life without being exposed to chemicals, but you want to do the best you can to minimize your exposure as much as possible. Avoid the constant use of wipes, like disinfecting wipes and things like that. It's tempting to grab those because they're easy, but you're constantly getting exposed through your skin and through your nose when you're using these. Avoid aerosol sprays because they cause those chemicals to be more easily inhaled. And then again, the scent booster cleaners, the things that are their whole purpose is just to, quote, smell good, stay away from those. Strong smells activate the limbic system. You have to remember that. Like, I don't want you to just think I want your house to stink. That's not it. I just want your house to be clean, and I don't want it to be toxic, and I don't want your limbic system activated, because that's going to increase your stress response again, as I mentioned, which is going to elevate your cortisol, which is going to put your body in a chronic low-level stress situation, leading to metabolic dysregulation that we talk about all the time on this show, and hormone imbalance. So I want you to know that these dots really do connect. There really is an impact, and it really can cause you to kind of have a low level of sickness, just not feeling good. And you might not ever connect to what was causing it, but all of these exposures add up, and they most certainly can cause the problems you're dealing with day to day. I hear some of you right now saying, but what about the germs? I need the germs to be gone. There's a little bit of hypochondriac that's been put in a lot of us from the messaging, from advertising, and from labels and different things like that. And we've been made to be completely scared of all germs. But I need you to remember that a healthy microbiome is preventative and it is protective. And so we don't want to kill all the germs, because A, when we kill the germs, we're also killing our natural microbiome, and B, that microbiome is going to take care of the germs when we keep our bodies healthy anyway. I hear you saying, but I have kids. Kids are gross. They have stuff all over them. Well, yeah, kids are gross, but they're supposed to be gross. That's part of how they learn. And they also have that microbiome. And so when you are causing their bodies to not have the microbiome that they need to have through the constant exposure to the cleaning products, we're setting them up for the same problems that we're trying to get rid of. Just use targeted cleaning products just when you need them. Don't over sterilize. And again, that smell, that clean smell that you've been taught that you must have for things to be clean, that's not cleaning. That's just masking. Cleaning is getting rid of the filth. Clean does not need a scent. So, how do we apply this in life? Well, we've talked about some ways that you can change some easy switches. You can switch cleaners. You can improve ventilation. You can reduce fragrance. But if your thyroid is already dysregulated from this and other exposures for the last 20, 30, 40 years, maybe of your life, if your insulin is already resistant, if your cortisol is already elevated, removing chemical stress and stopping continual exposure, it is step one, but restoring your body to work in the way that God designed it to work is going to require a plan. Inside my one-on-one coaching, we do that exact thing. We look at hormonal patterns. We look at blood sugar regulation. We look at thyroid conversion. We look at nervous system safety. We look at inflammatory load. And we look at where these toxic exposures are coming from that are exacerbating any problems that you have going on. Then we remove interference and we rebuild properly. If you are ready for that level of strategy, the application is in the show notes, or you can go to morriswellnessservices.com/application. I just got another client's labs in today. Y'all, she was so nervous that her labs weren't going to be better, but I am blown away by how quickly her body has said a huge thank you to her for the changes she's made in our coaching. It really doesn't take long when you have the right support. And I am ready for you to get started right now. So just go ahead to morriswellnessservices.com/application so you can get your call booked and we can get you on board to finally having lasting, true healing like these clients I've been telling you about. It is amazing to see how quickly the body starts to heal. God made your body to heal. When it is properly supported and you have the right inputs and you are taking out the right things that are causing you to get sick, or to have a low level of just feeling bad, when you get those things out, your body, it's like it's breathing a sigh of relief. And it tells you through things like these repeat labs that, oh, wow, I feel better again. And I want that for you. So go head over to my website, fill out that application, and let's get started. Or check out Verity Village if you're not quite ready for one-on-one to where you want that level, but you do still want some support. Join us in Verity Village, where we are having conversations every day that are having real impacts on women's health. We are having monthly challenges that are making lasting changes in these ladies' lives, and we'd love to have you join us there. Also, I have a low tox cleaning starter guide for you that's going to be available in the show notes, which is on my blog. Go to morriswellnessservices.com/blog/184. This is episode 184. And you will be able to download that free low tox cleaning starter guide so that you'll have all these resources that I've talked about in a printed format that you can take with you to the store or wherever you go when you're making your selections. So head over there and grab that right now, and I will see you right back here next week. If you were blessed in any way by today's episode, please take a minute to share it with a friend you know needs this info, or just post a screenshot on your Instagram stories and tag me so that I'll know you love this episode. Then come join us in Verity Village, my exclusive community built just for Christian women like you who want to learn to be well and live in alignment with God's design for their bodies. I'm in there every day chatting with the members and sharing information about a broad spectrum of topics like natural health, vaccines, nutrition, and the Bible. So you'll have a trustworthy, faith-based source away from noise and distraction for growing in your health and faith this year, along with a community of like-minded women. Also, I'd love it if you would head over to YouTube and subscribe to my channel. You can find links for all these things in the show notes. I'm so very thankful for you, and I look forward to hanging out again with you right here next week.